Okay, so let's say you're thinking about how to become a better communicator. Maybe you have a big meeting coming up or a relationship that needs some work, or maybe you just want to be a smooth talker. Well, Jefferson Fisher's new book, The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More, might help you out with that.
Right.
It's really interesting because he comes at this from a different angle. You see, he's a trial lawyer.
Wow.
So he's used to this high-stakes communication.
Yeah.
And he's taking those courtroom strategies and applying them to everyday conversations.
And what's so interesting is that it completely flips the script on how we usually think about communication.
Really?
Because most of us, we go into conversations and we're trying to win. We're trying to be right. We want to dominate. But Fisher actually argues that this mindset can totally sabotage us when we try to connect with other people and really find some understanding.
So instead of prepping for a verbal boxing match,
Right.
we should be thinking about it more like a collaborative lab experiment, where the goal is to discover something new and not just to be right.
Yeah, that's the heart of what Fisher calls say it with control.
Okay.
It's about being able to master your emotions and your reactions so you can kind of steer the conversation, in a good direction.
Because it's easy to get swept up in the heat of the moment, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But Fisher gives us some techniques for staying calm even when things are getting a little heated.
He does.
I loved the example he gave in Chapter 2. He says, imagine a coworker throws you under the bus, accusing you of not, doing your part on a project. Most of us will get defensive right away.
Of course.
But Fisher suggests a completely different approach. He says, take a breath and then say, let's look at what happened. How can I support the team better?
It's like diffusing a bomb with just a feather.
Right.
Such a great tactic because it does a couple of things at once. First of all, it acknowledges there is an issue.
Right.
But you're not getting defensive about it.
Okay.
Secondly, it shifts the focus away from blame and towards solutions.
Yeah.
And then third, it kind of subtly reframes you as a team player who is, ready to improve and get better.
Right.
And you're doing all of this while staying super calm and collected.
And that calm demeanor is really key, right?
Yeah.
Because it helps you take control of the narrative before it completely blows up.
You got it. But once we have our emotions in check, how do we make sure that our voice is actually heard? That's where Fisher's second principle comes in. Say it with confidence. And he really emphasizes that this does not mean being aggressive or trying to, dominate.
He really focuses on the fact that confidence is about being clear and intentional.
Right.
And in Chapter 3, he gives us all these practical phrases for asserting yourself in an effective way.
Yeah.
But in a way that's still respectful to the other person.
Right.
So if somebody keeps interrupting you, he suggests saying something like, I'd like to finish my thought, and then I'm all ears to hear what you have to say.
And what I think is so clever about that phrase is that it has this subtle power dynamic.
Really?
Yeah, because you're setting a boundary.
Okay.
But you're not being confrontational at all.
Right.
You're valuing your own voice. But you're also saying that you really want to hear their perspective too.
Okay.
And that is crucial for building rapport and trust, even when you disagree.
That's so interesting. It seems like a lot of communication problems happen when people feel like they're not being heard or the other person just doesn't understand them.
Yeah.
And is that where Fisher's third principle comes in, say it to connect?
Absolutely. Chapters 4 and 5 really dive deep into connection.
Okay.
And they emphasize that empathy and active listening are essential tools for building bridges even when you don't agree.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that everybody has their own point of view, their own experiences that shape how they see things.
Fisher talks about using phrases like, get where you're coming from, to show that you're really making an effort to see their side.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying, I might not agree with you, but I respect your opinion.
Yeah, and that validation can be so powerful.
Really?
It can diffuse tension and open up space for a real conversation.
Okay.
When people feel heard, they're more likely to let down their guard and be open to what you have to say too.
He also talks about the importance of intention in communication.
Right.
So let's say you're getting ready for a big conversation. Like you want to ask for a raise.
Okay.
Fisher says before you even go talk to your boss, you need to get really clear on your intention.
It's about asking yourself, what am I trying to achieve with this conversation? Are you just asking for more money?
Okay.
Or is it about wanting recognition for your hard work? Do you want more responsibility, or are you just feeling unappreciated?
So it's about framing the conversation in the right way.
Exactly. Once you know what you want, You can tailor your language and how you approach it to support that goal.
So instead of just blurting out, I want a raise, which can sound demanding,
Right.
you could say something like, I'd love to discuss how my work has been impacting the team and explore possibilities for my role going forward.
Yeah, it sounds so much better.
Right.
It shows you've thought about it
Yeah.
and that you're aligned with the company's goals, and you're not just coming in with your hand out.
Right.
You're a problem solver.
It's amazing how small changes in how we say things can make such a big difference in how other people hear us.
Yeah, it really is.
So we've talked about the three main principles:
Right.
control, confidence, and connection.
Right.
What are some of the things Fisher talks about in the later chapters?
Well, chapters 6 through 8 get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
They offer really practical advice for how to handle those common communication challenges.
Like what?
So, chapter 6 tackles setting boundaries.
Ooh, boundaries. That's a tough one for me. I'm such a people pleaser.
I get it. It can be hard to say no.
It is.
But Fisher reminds us that boundaries aren't about being selfish.
Okay.
It's about taking care of yourself, your time, your energy.
Right.
And healthy boundaries actually make relationships stronger in the long run.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and he gives you clear phrases you can use to set limits respectfully.
With anyone, really.
Yeah, family, friends, coworkers, anyone.
Chapter 7 was really interesting to me, overcoming conflict with connection.
Oh, yeah.
It seems kind of like the opposite of what you'd think, but is he saying conflict can make relationships better?
That's exactly what he's saying.
Wow.
And it makes sense when you really think about it. Conflict is going to happen. It's just part of life. It's how we deal with it that determines whether it breaks us apart or brings us closer together.
So it's about shifting the focus from winning the argument to actually like reconnecting with the person.
You got it. And then finally, Chapter 8 deals with difficult personalities.
Oh boy.
And this is where Fisher's experience as a lawyer really comes in handy.
Yeah, I bet.
He offers some strategies for staying calm and redirecting negativity, even when the other person is being really difficult.
Even then. And people are raving about his bonus chapter on toxic personalities.
A bonus chapter, what's in that?
Even more specific advice and techniques for dealing with those really tough people.
So it sounds like the next conversation is a pretty comprehensive guide to better communication.
It really is. Fisher provides a framework, specific tools, and even examples to help you use those tools in your own life.
But it's not like a magic spell, right?
No, communication is a process.
Yeah.
It's about being more mindful and intentional and really trying to understand each other.
So it's like we've been given all these amazing tools,
Right.
but we have to actually use them for them to work right.
Exactly. And that's where being self-aware is so important.
Oh, okay.
Fisher really emphasizes that the first step to better communication is to really look at your own patterns. Like, how do you usually act in conversations?
Yeah, like, do I get defensive really easily? Do I interrupt other people? Do I, like, jump to conclusions before I've really listened?
It can be hard to look at yourself like that.
Yeah.
But that's how you grow. Once you know what you tend to do, you can start making different choices.
And that's where Fisher's ideas of control, confidence, and connection are so helpful.
Exactly.
They give us a way to handle those tough conversations with more, skill and a little bit more grace.
Yeah.
But it's not about memorizing a script or trying to trick people.
No, it's about really understanding the other person and yourself.
Yeah. It's about seeing conversations as a chance to connect and grow, not just a fight to win.
I like that. As we wrap up this deep dive into the next conversation, I have a challenge for our listeners.
Yeah, same.
Think about the conversations in your own life.
Yeah.
The ones that are tough, the ones you avoid, the ones that leave you feeling kind of drained and frustrated.
Yeah, I think we all have those.
Is there one conversation that you could change by using Fisher's approach? Maybe it's a relationship with a family member that's tense, or a situation at work that's difficult, or even just an argument you keep having with your partner.
Right.
What if you went into that conversation thinking, I'm going to argue less and talk more? What if you really tried to stay calm and say what you mean and really understand where the other person's coming from?
What a great idea. It's about taking all these things we've been talking about and actually using them.
Right.
Yeah. It's about those moments of real connection and understand that make our lives richer.
Absolutely. So keep those conversations going. And remember, you can make them better. You can make them more meaningful, and you can make them more fulfilling.
That's a great way to end. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.